Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Jacobs, and you're listening to Juiced Sports Radio, and a record-breaking edition. After Drew Brees eclipses Dan Marino's hollowed single-season passing yards record on a glorious Monday night win for the Saints, who also lock up the NFC South division by throttling NFC South nemesis Atlanta. It was some night, and joining me here is Mike K. Mike, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I just watched history, and I'll never forget where I was when I saw it.
So the first question I have to ask, given the nature of today's NFL with the offensive prowess that teams have nowadays, does this record hold the same water that it would have when, in the 90s, or during the 80s when Marino set his own record?
I mean, I think with football, it's kind of hard to gear yourself toward, what level of competition there is, because there's no way of really, seeing where that, measuring it, except in, I guess, yardage. But the talent pool is so much better. While the offenses have gotten so much better, the defensive players have gotten much faster and much more athletic and smarter. So, I mean, there's two ways of looking at it, but I think, in this off season, that was so shortened, defenses kind of were behind the curve, it seems, and I think that Drew Brees is able to take advantage of it, and Tom Brady will be as well. So it's interesting to see, while Drew Brees is the first one to do it, it'll be interesting to see which one of them comes out on top, with the record.
On a coolness scale, 1 to 10, how cool is it to see Brees break the record with a touchdown pass?
I would say an 11. I mean, that's pretty cool. And you know what? You gotta love Sean Payton for allowing him to do it in that game. They had one more home game left. They could have let him do it on the first possession of that game, but they went for that touchdown pass. And I'm glad, a guy like Darren Sproles was able to get it, who also had a monster game in all-purpose yards. He's gonna lead the league in all-purpose yards again for the third time in a row, I believe. And, it was just a special moment. I was listening to the radio, after the game, and the whole offense for the Saints was on the field to take a picture. They realized how big of a accomplishment this is. This isn't just a Brees accomplishment. This is for his wide receivers, his running backs, and his offensive line. Right,
because as we've seen, good quarterbacks, or even great quarterbacks, can have crappy offensive lines or bad lack of talent at the wide receiver position, tight end position, running back position, and it doesn't matter how good you are if you can't stay upright or if your players aren't making plays. Brees has a ton of talent, including tight end Jimmy Graham, who had another spectacular touchdown catch. How much of this is New Orleans' talent, and how much of this is Brees' greatness?
I mean, Drew Brees, he wasn't mediocre, but he was good. He was just good when he was in San Diego, and I think New Orleans and Sean Payton, who I believe is the second best coach in the NFL, behind Bill Belichick, he's just really been able to expand Brees' game. I mean, he's put talent around him. They have 4 running backs who can all make catches. They have tight ends that can do, you wouldn't even know that they lost Jeremy Shockey. You wouldn't even remember that they even had him either.
Or Reggie Bush, for that matter.
Yeah, or Reggie Bush. Sproles has been better than Reggie Bush had ever been as a Saint, And, I think Brees is a phenomenal quarterback, top 3 easy. And, the Saints are going to have to figure out his contract situation because it's up after this year. They're obviously going to franchise him, but, they've got tons of guys that are free agents too, like Robert Meacham and Marquise Colston, and, he wants to keep those weapons so Brees can continue to do what he's doing. His team around him, they've got some talented guys, but let's be honest. None of them would be where they are if it wasn't for Drew Brees. Same can be said about the receivers outside of maybe Donald Driver, his career before Aaron Rodgers. Without Aaron Rodgers. Or Wes Welker without Tom Brady. It's good quarterback play leads to great play from the players around him.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. And, you talk about next season. Let's still focus on this season. New Orleans has a lot of football left to be played. They're 12-3. They, ironically, interestingly enough, have a very meaningful game next week, especially if the 49ers lose. They're probably going to be the 1 o'clock game, as the 49ers will probably be a 4 o'clock game. But if San Fran unexpectedly has a hiccup to the Rams, New Orleans has a shot to be the number 2 seed. How big of a difference to the Saints is being a 2 seed compared to a 3 seed, given how big their home field advantage is?
Well, I'll give you a statistic. So far this season, they're 7-0 at home.
That's pretty good.
They've won 12. Yeah, and they've won 12 games, so they're 5-3 on the road. That means the margin for error is extremely small. At home, and I mean, think about it this way: if they're the 3 seed, they're going to have to travel out west to San Fran after Wild Card Weekend. I mean, that's the reality. They could get injuries the week before Wild Card Weekend, and they could also go out to San Fran, and it's tough for East Coast teams to travel west this season. It has been historically. So to travel out there with a team that's as good against the run as San Fran, it might be tough, as opposed to a much likelier win at home.
Quick question. Saints, can they win the Super Bowl this year?
Absolutely.
There you have it. He's Mike. I'm Scott on a record-breaking Monday night in New Orleans. We've got it covered for you. This is Juiced Sports Radio.